That is an indication. An indication that it's not 4:30 a.m. like it was yesterday when I was making this video. I am, however, still making coffee, because coffee is the most important meal of the day that you should have at least 10 times a day. Works for me anyway. May not work for you. But yes, it's after 6, or it is 6. It's about 6. I said in yesterday's video, one of my favourite quotes, early to bed, early rise. Early to bed, early to rise makes a man healthy, wealthy, and wise. Well, last night I did not get to bed early. Yesterday was haka practice, which meant everyone got home late, even though I was at home. Woke baby up, so we're all running around the house after 10 o'clock, still trying to sort things out. Alarm set for 5:30, don't quite get up at 5:30, and now it's 6 o'clock, and I'm making a coffee, and it's looking black. Nasty. Good nasty. Delicious. Now, if you've been following for a little while, you'll know that this is an important part of my daily routine. Because then I don't often get to go to the gym. But 9, 10, it is always easy just to bang out a whole bunch of push-ups. And when you do this multiple times a day, it all adds up. So there's 40 to start the day, and get the blood pumping, and get the muscles pumping. So you do 100 push-ups before you leave the house, and then just do them when you can through the day. Now I've been doing this for a few months, so I'm probably a little bit more conditioned than the average person at the moment. But I wasn't always 100% conditioned, so it just takes a spark to start. For me, I was actually laying in bed watching a fucking TikTok, and some motivation video come up. Said, why the fuck haven't you done your push-ups for today? It's like, why haven't I? And I remember it was like 11 o'clock at night, sorry this is loud as. And I jumped out of bed, punched out 200 push-ups, and it's just been ongoing since then. Great motivation, great habit to get into, great for the body, keeps the muscles pumping. Literally, if you do 30 in a set, even 25 in a set, I often do 25. You do that 10 times a day, it takes less than 30 seconds. That's 10 full minutes. Sorry, that's not even 10. No, if you do it 20 times a day, you do 500. That's 10 full minutes of exercise. But you've just broken it up into 30-second increments throughout the day. Works a treat. Does make you a little bit hot in the morning though, so I'm gonna be sweating my kahunas off after I make this coffee. More push-ups, baby. Alright, 6:30, we are on the road again. More project work today. I'm going to show you where I'm going a little bit later. It is absolutely stunning. Like one of the most beautiful spots in Australia, and I'm very fortunate to be doing 2 projects there. projects that we're only within couple hundred meters of each other. We haven't started construction on either of them yet, but oh my gosh, I do get very excited when I get to go up there. Got to go up there for site visits, probably once a week, maybe once every 2 weeks, meeting different consultants and contractors, and just doing these relatively preliminary works to define what we're going to be doing when we actually start building up there. But it is an amazing spot. Today, going up there to meet some Aboriginal parties. So on all of our projects, we have but we have Aboriginal heritage considerations that we need to look at, and in some cases there is a very, very low likelihood of encountering Aboriginal objects or having any heritage issues, and in some areas there's a very, very high chance. And this particular project that we're looking at today has a relatively, I wouldn't say high chance, but probably higher than average chance. So we're taking the opportunity today to meet with a number of local Aboriginal groups and parties on site. So we have a meeting at 10 a.m. We're going to meet with them. They are knowledge holders, they are cultural value holders, they are historical knowledge holders of the area, so they'll be able to help inform what we're doing in terms of due diligence from a heritage perspective, Aboriginal heritage perspective. So I expect it will be insightful. It will determine what we've got to do to be able to build out there. Well, it'll be one of the considerations. There's many considerations on a construction project. When you're going through the planning process and meeting them and obtaining that knowledge and doing our due diligence in line with the relevant New South Wales government codes of practice and legislation and acts and all the rest of that sort of stuff, that will inform what we're going to do there, among many other things. I think it's a topic in Australia more generally that people are very sensitive about, especially we've just gone through this voice process, which, on reflection, it didn't get up. Well, that's not reflective, that's fact. It didn't get up. It wasn't a yes vote, but they've been very, very disruptive in the Aboriginal community. I'm not Aboriginal. My partner is, my kids are, so relatively good insights there. But it hasn't been great. And whenever you hear about, you've just got to say the word. It's a trigger word. It's a trigger word for a lot of people, for non-Indigenous people. So I'm very mindful of when we talk about these topics on our projects, because it is one very, very important part, but it's one very, very important part among many other considerations that we need to have before we go and build something. Before we go and stick a shovel in the ground, holy shit. The guy just flew past me doing about 150. So anyway, I'm going to take you on a little bit of a journey later. I'm going to go in the office, prep, get everything ready for the meeting, and then go and meet these parties out there. I'll get up there a little bit early and I'll show you around. Alright, as promised, here we are, one of the most beautiful spots in Australia. Can't do the drum roll, but I'm going to turn the camera around and show you. I'm just sitting on top of the hill. And please excuse the noisy mower in the background, but check out this view. Oh yeah. This is a secret spot. I'm not even going to tell you where it is. But if you know, you know. If you know, you know. I'm about 10 minutes early for my meeting, so I thought I'd just come over here quickly and sit down and take in a bit of nature here. I had a phone call about 10 minutes ago, and it was one of those ones where there was a problem. And the problem was going to cause another problem, in this cascading effect of problems. A affects B, which affects C, C affects D, D affects E. And that is really frustrating to hear. So your mind just instantly goes, far out. I've got one problem, I've got two problems, I've got three problems, I've got four problems, I've got five problems. But if we take the emotion out of it, and use logic, see those two sides of the coin, emotion versus logic, we can sit back for a second and think about it with logic. See what I'm saying? Think about it with logic. And in that case, I realised, yes, I've got 5 problems, but because they're all cascading, because they're all compounding, I actually only need to deal with one problem. Because if I fix the first problem, if I fix A, B is going to go away. If B goes away, C goes away. C goes away, D goes away, D goes away, E goes away. And so that brings clarity. You know, I talked yesterday about chaos and clarity. That brings clarity. Logic brings clarity. Emotion triggers you, the logic resolves it. The logic brings clarity. So I've got one problem to fix. I've already got some ideas on how to fix it. So we'll see how we go. Anyway, off to my meeting. Back in the car now, just finished the meeting recently. We had 5 different parties out on site. My role there is project manager. And something came up that I think is really, really important when you've got to try and scope work. So you've got to try and work out what needs to happen, particularly pre-construction. Once you get to construction, things are a little bit smoother, but pre-construction, there's this convergence that needs to happen, this convergence of new information and new people get involved, and you've got to narrow it and keep funneling things down towards the point where you've reached a milestone where then you can go out and start construction. And for a lot of projects, construction can be quite linear. If you know anything about scheduling or programming, a lot of construction programs are built in a waterfall method. So task A happens, and then B, and then C, and then D. So it's got this sequential process. But before that, there's a lot of this convergence that needs to happen. Convergence of information, data, all of those sorts of things. And we take 3 really important things when you're trying to scope. Number 1 is decisions. Number 1 is triggers. Number 2 is decisions, and number 3 is action. So when you're scoping the project, there'll often be triggers. So you'll learn something new, and that will become a trigger. Okay, we found out this piece of information, and therefore that's going to trigger something else. Well, we have to go and do something else, or maybe we can remove another part of the scope. That's what triggers are. The next one is decisions. You're going to get to a point where you've got to make a decision. Do I go left? Do I go right? Do I go with A or B? Do I go with A, B, or C? You might have justification for that decision. You've got to sort of forecast what the impacts of those decisions will be, and generally want to try and get things done as quickly as possible for the least amount of money. And if we want to build in efficiency, and that can be a strong driver for your decision making. And then you've got to work out the actions. What are the steps that we need to take, for this next sprint that we're going to do to reach the next milestone? What are the next actions we have to do? And they're the 3 things that came up and were sort of the outcome of today's meeting, was that we've basically got to get to this end point, which is having something. I don't want to go into the particular details, but we want to have something that feeds into the construction and enables construction to happen, and without that we can't build. So to get to that point, we identified that there's actually 2 pathways, and there was quite a lengthy discussion around what are the details in those pathways. There's a decision that needs to be made on which pathway do we go down, left or right, 1 or 2. And then before that, we had to work out what is the trigger for the decision. So hang on, got a phone. We're back. So yes, we had to work out what the trigger was, which we worked out was based on 3 contextual items on the site. We worked out A had occurred, B had occurred, C had occurred, and therefore that would become the trigger. We then worked out from that trigger we need to get to this end point, and then to get to that end point there's 2 potential pathways. So then what decision do we need to make? Well, then what are the actions that need to happen in line with both of those 2 pathways as part of that decision, and then we can sort of work out how we're going to get there. But this comes up all the time when you're scoping. Triggers are going to happen, decisions need to be made, and then you've got to work out what are the steps, what are the interrelated steps. And your role as a project manager really needs to be about, how do I make sure, number 1 is information. Like, you need to have the right information. This is what I spoke about yesterday, about having good people around you, good knowledgeable people around you, to get the information from them. You've got to be able to extract the information so that you can make a decision, or at least you can collate the information so you can put it in front of the person with the right delegation to be able to make a decision, so they're completely informed. So yeah, interesting little piece from our hour and a half meeting this morning, and heading back and on with the rest of the day. So this morning we spoke about compounding issues and how to fix them. So in 2 phone calls we managed to fix problem A, which should flow on and fix problem B and C and D and E, which is good. It's been a trigger. You remember we spoke about triggers, decisions, actions. It's been a trigger. It's triggered a new course of actions, which is really good. There's other stuff to get done, but that whole flow of problems is now looking in a different direction, a more positive direction. It's not really a problem anymore, which is good. Good outcome. 6 p.m. We're back here in the backyard. And it is very, very zen-like. It's raining, overcast, birds, trees. You can hear a lawnmower in the background as well. But it's nice. After a busy day, it is nice. But the day's not over. We've got a committee meeting tonight, and I reckon that one's going to take probably 2 hours, an hour and a half at least, to sort everything out. We've got lots of stuff coming up for our cultural group, and yeah, it's going to suck some more energy out of me. But this is a nice moment. Ha ki roto. Ha ki waho.